First part. The morning sun cast long shadows across the rocky terrain of the Afghanistan mountains as Staff Sergeant Marcus Rivera adjusted his rifle scope for the third time in 10 minutes. His hands, steady despite the bitter cold, moved with the practiced precision of someone who had done this hundreds of times before. The SEAL team had been in position since 0400 hours, watching the compound below through their various scopes and binoculars. Rivera wiped the sweat from his brow, a strange contradiction given the freezing temperature. The adrenaline was pumping through his veins as it always did before an operation. 3 years of deployment had taught him that no mission was routine, no matter how many times they had rehearsed it back at base. Overwatch, this is Alpha Team. We have eyes on the target building. Count 4 tangos on the roof, 2 more patrolling the perimeter, came the whispered voice of Lieutenant Jake Thompson through Rivera's earpiece. Thompson was leading the assault team positioned about 200 meters below Rivera's sniper nest. Rivera scanned the compound through his scope, his finger resting lightly on the trigger. The intelligence had been solid this time. The high-value target they were after had been spotted entering the building just after midnight. Ahmad Nazir, a Taliban commander responsible for coordinating attacks against coalition forces, was finally within their grasp. The plan was straightforward. Rivera would provide overwatch from his elevated position while Thompson's team moved in for the capture. Clean, quick, and surgical. They had done it dozens of times before in these same mountains. Copy that, Alpha. I have clear sight lines on all visible hostiles. Wind is calm, visibility good. Rivera responded into his radio, adjusting his position slightly to get a better angle on the compound's entrance. Below him, he could see Thompson's team beginning their approach. 5 shadows moving carefully between the rocks and sparse vegetation, their movements coordinated and silent. Rivera had served with most of these men for over 2 years. They trusted each other with their lives, and that trust had never been misplaced. The compound was a typical Afghan structure built of mud brick and stone, with a flat roof and small windows. Intelligence suggested it was being used as a safe house and weapons cache. Rivera's job was to neutralize any threats that might compromise the mission or endanger his teammates. Through his scope, Rivera watched as one of the guards on the roof turned toward the direction of Thompson's team. The man seemed to sense something, his head tilted as if listening. Rivera's crosshairs found the center of the man's chest, his breathing steady and controlled. Alpha, you have 1 tango getting curious on the roof northeast corner, Rivera whispered into his radio. Copy, Overwatch. Continue monitoring. The minutes stretched like hours as Thompson's team moved closer to the building. Rivera could feel his heart rate slowing to its operational rhythm, the same calm focus that had served him well in countless similar situations. His world narrowed to the view through his scope, tracking potential threats and ready to engage at a moment's notice. A sudden movement caught his attention. Another figure had appeared on the roof, this one carrying what looked like an RPG. Rivera's training kicked in immediately. That weapon could devastate Thompson's team if the compound defenders realized they were under assault. Alpha, new threat on the roof, armed with RPG, west side of building. I'm taking the shot. Negative, Overwatch. Hold your position. We're almost in position for breach. Rivera hesitated for a split second. His orders were clear, but his instincts screamed that waiting was dangerous. The man with the RPG was moving toward the roof's edge, getting into a position where he could rain death down on the assault team. The radio crackled again. All teams, we are go for breach in 30 seconds. Overwatch, be ready to engage any runners. Rivera watched through his scope as Thompson's team stacked up at the main entrance. The guards on the roof were now alert, having heard something or perhaps spotted movement below. One of them was pointing in the direction of the assault team. Contact front, came Thompson's urgent voice through the radio as the compound erupted in gunfire. The carefully planned silent approach had been compromised. Muzzle flashes lit up the pre-dawn darkness as the SEAL team engaged the defenders. Rivera could see his teammates taking cover behind rocks and low walls as bullets sparked off the ground around them. His scope found the man with the RPG, who was now frantically trying to load the weapon while taking cover behind a low parapet. Rivera controlled his breathing, found his natural pause between heartbeats, and gently squeezed the trigger. The .308 round found its mark, and the RPG clattered harmlessly to the roof. One threat eliminated, but Rivera could see more defenders appearing from inside the building. The element of surprise was gone, and this was turning into a firefight. Overwatch, we need cover fire on that roof. Multiple hostiles engaging from elevated position. Thompson's voice was strained but professional. Rivera worked his bolt action smoothly, chambering another round. His scope swept across the rooftop, finding targets and engaging them with deadly precision. Each shot was calculated, each target prioritized based on the threat they posed to his teammates below. The sound of his rifle echoed across the valley, a steady rhythm that his teammates would recognize and find reassuring. Rivera was doing his job, providing the umbrella of protection that allowed the assault team to maneuver and advance. Through his earpiece, he could hear the coordinated communication of the assault team as they bounded forward, using fire and movement tactics to close with the building. The defenders were putting up fierce resistance, but they were outmatched by the superior training and equipment of the SEAL team. "Breaching now!" came Thompson's voice, followed by the distinctive sound of explosive charges detonating. Rivera kept his scope trained on the windows and roof, ready to engage any threats that might appear. The radio chatter increased as the assault team cleared room by room, their movements methodical and professional despite the chaos of combat. Minutes passed. Rivera had fired 8 rounds, each one finding its mark. The rooftop was now clear of threats, and the sounds of gunfire from inside the building were becoming sporadic. The mission was succeeding, but something felt wrong. A glint of reflection caught Rivera's eye, far up on the ridge above him. His blood ran cold as he realized what he was seeing. Another sniper scope, catching the first rays of the rising sun. Someone else was on the mountain, someone who had a clear shot at both Rivera and the assault team below. Rivera's mind raced. The intelligence had mentioned only the compound defenders. There was supposed to be no other hostile presence in the area, but there it was, unmistakable through his scope. Another rifle barrel protruding from behind a rock formation nearly 500 meters above his position. All teams! We have an additional sniper on the ridge above Overwatch position. Repeat, hostile sniper on the high ground. The response was immediate and alarming. Overwatch, are you compromised? Can you relocate? Rivera was already moving, rolling away from his position just as a bullet cracked through the air where his head had been moments before. The enemy sniper had found him, and now Rivera was the one being hunted. Second part. Rivera's training kicked in as he rolled behind a cluster of boulders, his heart hammering against his ribs. The crack of the incoming round had been so close he could smell the displaced air. Whoever was up on that ridge was good, very good, to have spotted his position and gotten so close to a killing shot. Overwatch, report your status, came Thompson's voice through the radio, tight with concern. I'm mobile but pinned down. Sniper has me zeroed from approximately 500 meters, elevation advantage. Unknown. If there are additional hostiles on the ridge, Rivera whispered into his microphone while scanning the rock formation above him through his rifle scope. The enemy sniper had the high ground, which meant every position Rivera might take was potentially exposed. Worse yet, from that elevation, the hostile shooter could probably see down into the compound where Thompson's team was still operating. Another bullet struck the rocks near Rivera's position, sending stone fragments flying. The enemy was trying to flush him out, force him into a position where a clean shot was possible. Rivera had been on the other side of this equation many times. He knew the tactics. Alpha Team, be advised the hostile sniper has Overwatch on your position as well. Recommend you complete the mission and extract immediately, Rivera transmitted while carefully repositioning himself behind the rocks. Negative, Overwatch. We have Nazir cornered in the building. 2 more minutes and we'll have him. Rivera cursed under his breath. 2 minutes was an eternity in a sniper duel. The enemy shooter was patient, professional, and clearly skilled enough to have remained undetected until the moment he chose to reveal himself. This wasn't some Taliban fighter with an old hunting rifle. This was someone with serious training. Through his scope, Rivera caught a brief glimpse of movement on the ridge. Just a shadow shifting between rocks, but it was enough to give him a general location. The enemy sniper was approximately 450 meters away, positioned behind a natural rock shelter that provided excellent concealment and cover. Rivera's mind worked through the tactical problem. The enemy had the advantage of elevation and position, but Rivera had one thing working in his favor. The hostile sniper was focused on him, which meant Thompson's team might be able to complete their mission if Rivera could keep the sniper's attention. Alpha, I'm going to try to suppress the hostile sniper. Use the distraction to complete your objective and prepare for immediate extraction, Rivera transmitted. Copy. Overwatch. 2 minutes. Rivera took a deep breath and prepared to move. The enemy sniper was expecting him to stay pinned down, to wait for help or try to retreat. Instead, Rivera was going to be aggressive. He would move to a new position, force the enemy to reacquire him, and hopefully buy his teammates the time they needed. The rock formation Rivera was using for cover extended about 20 meters to his left, ending in a small ridge that would give him a different angle on the enemy position. It was risky, but staying put was certain death. Rivera exploded from cover, sprinting low and fast toward the new position. The enemy sniper's bullet cracked overhead, close enough that Rivera could hear the supersonic snap of the round passing by. He dove behind the new position just as a second bullet struck the ground where he had been running. From his new angle, Rivera could see more of the enemy's position. The hostile sniper was well concealed, but Rivera caught a glimpse of a rifle barrel and what might have been the edge of a ghillie suit. Definitely a professional, probably with military training. Rivera lined up his shot carefully. At this distance, with the wind conditions and the enemy's excellent cover, he would only get one chance. He controlled his breathing, found his natural respiratory pause, and began applying pressure to the trigger. The enemy moved at the last second, just enough to spoil Rivera's shot. The bullet struck rock instead of flesh, but it forced the hostile sniper to duck down and lose his sight picture on Rivera's position. This is Alpha. We have Nazir in custody and are preparing to extract. What's your status, Overwatch? Still engaged with the sniper. I can provide limited cover for your withdrawal, but you need to move now, Rivera responded while working his bolt action and chambering a fresh round. Through his scope, Rivera watched Thompson's team emerge from the compound with their prisoner in tow. They were moving fast, using the tactical formations they had drilled countless times. But the enemy sniper on the ridge had a clear view of their extraction route. Rivera saw the hostile rifle barrel swing toward Thompson's team and knew he had seconds to act. He fired without hesitation, his bullet striking close enough to the enemy position to force the sniper to take cover instead of engaging the extraction team. "Move! Move! Move!" Rivera transmitted as he worked his bolt again. The enemy sniper was getting frustrated now, and frustrated snipers made mistakes. Rivera saw movement again, this time more exposed than before. The hostile shooter was trying to reposition for a better shot at the escaping assault team. Rivera's second shot was better placed. He saw the enemy sniper jerk backward, hit but not killed. The return fire stopped for several precious seconds, long enough for Thompson's team to reach better cover. Overwatch, we're at the rally point. Can you disengage and join us? Rivera assessed his situation. The enemy sniper was wounded but still operational. Trying to retreat down the mountain would expose him to fire, but staying would accomplish nothing now that the primary mission was complete. Negative, Alpha, I'm pinned down. Extract with the package and send QRF for pickup. We don't leave teammates behind, Overwatch. That's an order, Lieutenant. Get Nazir back to base. I'll hold position until reinforcements arrive. Rivera knew he was in a difficult spot, but the mission had to take priority. Ahmad Nazir was too valuable an intelligence asset to risk in a prolonged firefight. The information he might provide could save dozens of coalition lives. The radio went quiet for a moment before Thompson's voice came back, professional but strained. Copy, Overwatch. QRF is being scrambled. Hold position and stay alive. Rivera settled in for what he knew would be the longest few hours of his military career. The enemy sniper was still up there, still dangerous, and now they were locked in a deadly waiting game. Both snipers were wounded, both were running low on ammunition, and both knew that patience and precision would determine who walked away from this mountain. The sun was climbing higher now, changing the shadows and altering the tactical situation moment by moment. Rivera used his scope to study every inch of the enemy's position, looking for any weakness or opportunity that might present itself. A thought nagged at the back of Rivera's mind. The enemy sniper's positioning and timing had been too perfect, too professional. This wasn't a chance encounter or a random Taliban fighter. Someone had known about the mission, known about the SEAL team's approach, and positioned a counter-sniper accordingly. Rivera keyed his radio one more time. Base, this is Overwatch. Enemy sniper shows signs of advanced training and prior knowledge of our mission parameters. Recommend intelligence review of mission security. Third part. The silence stretched across the mountain for nearly 40 minutes. Rivera remained motionless behind his rocky cover, every sense alert for the slightest indication of movement from the enemy sniper's position. His wounded shoulder throbbed where a rock fragment from an earlier near miss had cut deep, but he ignored the pain. Professional snipers learned to compartmentalize discomfort during operations. The sun had shifted enough that shadows were moving across the landscape, creating both opportunities and dangers. Rivera used his scope to methodically study the enemy's position, noting every rock, every shadow, every possible angle of approach or escape. The hostile sniper hadn't fired in over 30 minutes, which could mean several things. He might be dead, wounded worse than Rivera had initially thought, or simply waiting for Rivera to make a mistake. Rivera's radio crackled softly. Overwatch, this is Guardian Angel. We have a Predator drone en route to your position, ETA 15 minutes. Can you mark the enemy sniper's location? Guardian Angel was the call sign for their Tactical Operations Center back at base. The drone would provide eyes in the sky and potentially eliminate the threat. But Rivera needed to survive long enough for it to arrive. Copy, Guardian Angel. Enemy sniper is approximately 450 meters northeast of my position. Elevation 27 meters above my current location. Last observed behind rock formation shaped like a broken pyramid. Hostile has been silent for 30 minutes. Unknown status. Understood, Overwatch. Maintain position and avoid exposure. Guardian Angel out. Rivera knew that 15 minutes was an eternity in combat, especially when facing a skilled enemy sniper. He had to assume the hostile shooter was still operational and simply waiting for the right moment to strike. The enemy had demonstrated patience and skill, qualities that made him extremely dangerous. A new sound reached Rivera's ears, the distant whoop of helicopter rotors echoing across the valley. The quick reaction force was approaching, which meant his ordeal was nearing its end. But it also meant the enemy sniper might become desperate, willing to take risks to score a kill before reinforcements arrived. Rivera adjusted his position slightly, trying to get a better angle on the suspected enemy location. As he moved, a reflection caught his eye from a completely different direction. His blood ran cold as he realized what he was seeing. The enemy sniper had moved, repositioned during the silence, and was now in a location that gave him a clear shot at Rivera's current position. Training and instinct took over. Rivera rolled away from his cover just as a bullet struck the exact spot where his head had been moments before. The enemy had been waiting for him to move, anticipating that the arrival of friendly forces would make Rivera less cautious. "Contact! Enemy sniper has relocated, now firing from southeast of my position," Rivera transmitted while scrambling for new cover. The enemy's new position was even better than his original one. From this angle, he could see most of Rivera's available cover and had multiple escape routes if the drone or QRF located him. Rivera was beginning to realize he was facing someone with exceptional tactical knowledge and fieldcraft. Another bullet cracked overhead as Rivera pressed himself against the mountainside. This enemy wasn't just skilled, he was methodical, patient, and clearly familiar with American tactics and equipment. The nagging suspicion Rivera had felt earlier was growing stronger. The helicopter sounds were getting closer now, but Rivera knew the QRF wouldn't be able to approach his position safely while the enemy sniper was still operational. The pilot would have to stay back until the threat was neutralized, which left Rivera still fighting for his life alone on the mountain. Rivera's radio came alive again. "Overwatch, this is Spartan 6. We have your position visual and are standing by to provide support. Can you identify the exact location of the hostile sniper?" Spartan 6 was the QRF team leader. Probably circling in a Black Hawk with a full complement of operators ready to fast rope down and join the fight, but they couldn't help him until he could pinpoint the enemy's location. "Spartan 6, enemy sniper is mobile and extremely well trained. He's moved at least once since initial contact and is using advanced field craft. Recommend extreme caution on approach." Rivera studied the terrain around him, looking for any advantage he could exploit. The enemy sniper had shown discipline and skill, but he had also revealed something important by moving positions. He was alone. A sniper team would have provided overwatching fire during movement, but the hostile shooter was operating solo. The drone arrived first, its engine a distant buzz high overhead. Rivera couldn't see it, but he knew its cameras were scanning the mountainside, looking for any sign of the enemy sniper. Modern drones could spot a mouse from 3 miles up, but they still needed something to see. "Overwatch, Guardian Angel. Drone is on station and scanning your area. We're not seeing any movement or heat signatures. Are you certain the sniper is still operational?" Rivera was about to respond when he caught sight of something that made his heart skip a beat. There, nearly 800 meters away on a completely different ridge, was the unmistakable silhouette of a sniper in a ghillie suit. The enemy hadn't just moved tactically, he had completely relocated to an entirely new firing position. But that wasn't what shocked Rivera the most. Through his scope, he could see the enemy sniper clearly for the first time, and what he saw changed everything. The figure behind the rifle scope was wearing American military equipment. The rifle looked like an M24 sniper weapon system, standard issue for U.S. military snipers. "Guardian Angel, I have eyes on the enemy sniper. 800 meters east of my position, elevated approximately 40 meters. Stand by for coordinates." Rivera's voice remained steady despite the implications of what he was seeing. "Copy, Overwatch. Switching drone camera to your bearing." Rivera provided the exact coordinates while continuing to observe the enemy sniper through his own scope. The more he watched, the more certain he became that he was looking at someone with American military training and equipment. The positioning, the movements, even the ghillie suit construction all suggested someone who had been trained by the same instructors who had trained Rivera himself. "Guardian Angel, I need you to run facial recognition on the target when you acquire him. Something about this situation isn't adding up." "Copy, Overwatch. Drone has visual on your target and is running identification protocols. Stand by." The silence that followed seemed to stretch forever. Rivera kept his scope trained on the distant sniper, while the drone overhead worked its electronic magic. The enemy sniper seemed to sense the increased attention and began preparing to move again, but this time, Rivera was ready. "Overwatch, Guardian Angel. Facial recognition has returned a match. Target is identified as Staff Sergeant Michael Chen, United States Army, reported killed in action 6 months ago during Operation Mountain Fury." Rivera felt the pieces clicking into place. Chen had been captured during a mission that went wrong. His body never recovered. Intelligence had assumed he was dead, but apparently he had been turned, brainwashed, or coerced into working for the enemy. The Taliban had their own sniper now, one trained by American instructors and equipped with American weapons. Guardian Angel confirmed identification on former Staff Sergeant Chen. This changes the tactical situation. Request permission to attempt communication before engagement. Negative, Overwatch. Chen is considered hostile and extremely dangerous. You are cleared to engage with lethal force. Rivera understood the order, but something inside him rebelled against it. Chen had been a fellow soldier, someone who had taken the same oath, served the same flag. Whatever had happened to him in captivity, he deserved a chance to surrender. Rivera keyed his radio on an open frequency that he knew Chen would be monitoring if he still had any of his original training. Staff Sergeant Chen, this is Staff Sergeant Rivera, United States Navy. I know who you are and what happened to you. You don't have to do this. There's still a way back. The response came immediately, but not over the radio. Chen's rifle muzzle flashed in the distance, and Rivera heard the bullet crack past his position. The message was clear. Chen was committed to his current path, whether through choice or coercion. Rivera lined up his shot carefully. At 800 meters, in mountain conditions, with wind and elevation to consider, this would be one of the most difficult shots of his career. But he had trained for this distance, and his equipment was capable of the precision required. Guardian Angel taking the shot. Danger close to friendly aircraft. Rivera controlled his breathing, found his natural respiratory pause, and began the long, steady trigger squeeze that every sniper learned in training. The .308 round left his barrel with a supersonic crack, arcing across the valley toward the distant target. Through his scope, Rivera saw Chen jerk backward and disappear behind the rocks. Whether the shot had been fatal or simply forced Chen to take cover, Rivera couldn't tell, but the immediate threat seemed to have ended. Guardian Angel, target is down. Request confirmation of status. Copy, Overwatch. Drone shows no movement from target area. Spartan 6 is inbound for extraction and body recovery. Rivera remained in position until the QRF helicopter touched down nearby, and a full squad of operators fast-roped to his location. Only when he was surrounded by friendly forces did he finally allow himself to relax. As they prepared to extract, Rivera couldn't shake the feeling that this mission had revealed something much larger than a single-turned American soldier. The Taliban's ability to capture, turn, and effectively employ Chen suggested a level of sophistication in their operations that coalition intelligence had seriously underestimated. But that was a problem for the intelligence analysts back at base. Rivera had done his job, kept his teammates alive, and survived an encounter with one of the most dangerous opponents he had ever faced. As the helicopter lifted off the mountain, Rivera looked back one last time at the ridge where Chen had made his last stand. The master sniper on the ridge had indeed been just backup, but backup for whom, and as part of what larger plan, were questions that would haunt Rivera for months to come.